open grazing law. Communities in its next-door neighbor of Nasarawa State, southern and western senatorial zones have pledged commitment to promote peaceful coexistence with the herdsmen staying or transiting their domain. This is part of Joshua Ojito's findings when he traveled out of Lafia, the state capital, to some of the communities. The report.
This is River Benue, and where I am standing is the boundary between Benue and Nasarawa State. And since the implementation of anti-open grazing law by the Benue State government, open grazing by this side of the river is prohibited. Barkono and Patanki communities in our local government area have one thing in common: the influx of herdsmen from neighboring Benue states. The herdsmen are aware their perpetual quest for greener pastures is achievable along the axis of the Benue River watershed. The herds are in hundreds as the men controlling them. Investigation shows there is no clash of interest between the farmers and herdsmen. However, farmers are intensifying efforts to harvest their produce because of fear the cattle may overrun their farms.
We need government to help us, at least security us, or send soldiers or police to come and invigilate what Fulani people are doing to us.
Community leaders, the farmers and herdsmen are all on the same page to promote peace. If they are coming into our community, they should live in peace. We have been living together with farmers and want the peace to be sustained. The leadership of Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association at a press conference in Lafia says it's committed towards sustaining advocacy among herdsmen migrating into the state to be law-abiding and live in peace with communities in border areas.
We are sensitizing our own Fulani people to how to live in peace. They should not destroy people's crop. Well, we advise our leaders of the Mieti Allah in most of the neighboring local government areas to advise to go around in various wards and local government to see that the crops for farmers are not destroyed. With this implementation of this grazing law, we also were appealing to the federal government to look into this law so that Benue State should revisit that law. We want peace. We don't want these international cattle routes to be blocked.
We need peace in Benue State, we need peace in Nasarawa, because if there is no peace in Benue, there is no peace in Nasarawa. They enable already. And we promise His Excellency peace in Benue will put local government in each yardo. If the Fulani committed a offense, we arrest him, hand over to police. If the farmer committed, he should be arrested and prosecuted according to the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
It will be recalled that Governor Umaru Tanko Al-Mukura convened a security council meeting and ordered regular patrol and surveillance in affected areas.
As far as we are concerned, it hasn't reached an alarming stage. We are keeping our eyes open and being vigilant to ensure that the migration does not disrupt peace and stability in the state. Meanwhile, we have been able to advise people to remain calm and go about their normal duties, and also give some kind of reception, so to say, in areas where time being. We'll be ready to see how we collaborate with Benue State to see how things will go.
He also set up a committee of traditional rulers, Chief and Fulani, as well as other ethnic groups to walk the talk.
Proactive steps on the likely effect of the anti-grazing law and sensitize the holders to maintain law and order. All tribal associations, religious leaders as well, were urged to put head together with the security agencies with a view to see that there is no any breakage of law and order in the entire Nasarawa state.
Well, Joshua, it is interesting to know that stakeholders are working out modalities to promote national unity. Thank you. Now to tourism. A delegation from the Strategic Studies Kuru in Jos has endorsed the tourism potential of Osun State. Members of the team were pleasantly surprised at some of the tourist attractions in the state. Correspondent Tunji Adepoju brings us more.
Of the over 60 tourist sites scattered all over Osun State, 12 are internationally recognized, and this holds great potential for economic diversification and recovery for Osun State, which has been facing economic difficulties for some years now. This also informed the visit of a delegation from the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, to some of these tourist destination sites.
The benefits are enormous. The NIPS team, they came to State of Osun to find out and to make policy about the potential of the tourist sites that we have across the state. And they are impressed with what they have seen on ground, because State of Osun got enormous tourist sites that could be of useful even to generate more funds for the state government. Now that our oil is no more flowing, I think we got to look inward, and State of Osun got all it takes to make it.
The Ulumirin waterfall in Nerijesha in Obokun local government is a wonder of nature to behold, and the NIPS team had an interesting session here.
Of the naturally occurring tourist attractions in the state. As you might know, Osun State is blessed with more than a dozen world-recognized tourism centers and sites, internationally known, and but as it were, Nigeria and even the state government has not taken the full advantage of the potentials in terms of economic activity, in terms of cultural promotion that the tourism sites in Osun State should offer. The National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies is the apex Nigerian institutions that concentrate on analyzing and looking at policies and strategies with relation to critical development issues in Nigeria.
If you don't come up to this place, you wouldn't know what you have on ground. It's an eye-opener to us, and I think if this is actually looked into and proper investment done, I'm so sure that this will open up Osun State.
It's our duty, therefore, to ride on the back of this already prior existing mileage and build a big leverage out of it.
Kriji War site was the war theater where the legendary Ekitiparapọ forces and the Ibadan warriors fought war for 16 years. Various artifacts from the war fought in the 18th century greeted the entourage at the palace of Owa of Imesile.
For you to have a comprehensive knowledge of what is happening, we will start from the hall. There is a hall behind, Oyoyo Hall, where the treaty, the final treaty of the war, was engraved into plaques so that you can read them. Copies of that treaty are already in the British Museum.
Other tourist sites visited include Ayinkunuba Falls and other areas in the state.
I am sitting on the stool of the legendary Ogedengbe, who took active part in the Kriji War of the 18th century. Where I am now is part of the Confederate High Command of the legendary Ekitiparapọ warriors. The war lasted 16 years, and here it was settled with a treaty that is ever binding since then.
Yes, Tunji, protecting the tourism potentials for commercial purposes has become a major task for the government and stakeholders. Many thanks. on that note, we conclude this week's edition of The Correspondence. Thanks for watching and see you again next week. Bye for now.
Festival of Benin Kingdom.
The Beninese are great people, blessed with a proud heritage sustained over the years by great custodians of our culture. There are a series of annual Uge festivals that is carried out at the end of every year by the ruling Oba. The Oba of Benin celebrates annual Uge festival in accordance with the Benin customs. In the 1200-2002 AD, was only celebrated by the Obas. But in 1440 to 1473 AD, when Oba Ewale the Great assembled Shon, he changed the Uge festival and made it annually because of the terrible experience he had in his early life before he was crowned. He made every Benin man feel the weight of the Uge festival as a religion of the Beninese, making sure the whole Benin kingdom joined him to celebrate Uge festival annually and made it to be an end-of-year festival. The Uge festival, no doubt, is the most colorful and crown-pulling festival in Benin Kingdom. Otugbaba ceremony kicked off with the Benin monarch ushered to his throne by the chiefs. Thereafter, chiefs paid homage to the monarch. The Ekoko masquerade from Ute community performed before the monarch and the audience. Before he later paid homage and used the traditional staff known as a prayer to pray for the monarch. During Igboba, Chief Isekura from the Igbo family performed the Igbo ceremony by serving Oba said as tradition demands. Thereafter, prominent chiefs performed before the Oba. Only the chiefs that are fully robed are permitted to pass under the sacred crossbar to dance with their Ebe before the Oba. There are different events in Uge Festival, and they are as follows: Ugereba, Ugero, Ugeba, Ugemobo, Igoreba, Igwadeya, and finally Ugewe. It should be noted that even though these festivals are celebrated in the month of December, yet they are different from each other. Ugemobo is a festival which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate to a pavilion of red leaf, where lights are performed to drive away evil spirits. These ceremonies are not left out of the Ugemobo. They play prominent role by protecting the Oba against dangers, as Obelaka provides melodious sound as they sing and beat the drum to spice up the festival.
Hello, welcome to News Trending at the Hour. I'm Shegun Lawale. Activities marking this year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebrations have been rounded off nationwide with the laying of wreath at the 7th of the unknown soldier. President Muhammadu Buhari presided over the colorful ceremony held at the National Arcade in Abuja. This year's ceremony has as its theme appreciating the contributions of the armed forces in ensuring peace and security in the country. In Nigeria, Armed Forces Day is celebrated on 15th January. It was formally celebrated on 11th November to coincide with the Remembrance Day of World War II veterans in British Commonwealth of Nations. That was changed in 1970 in commemoration of the surrender of Biafran troops. The federal government has so far received 1,490 irregular migrants in 3 batches out of the 5,037 irregular migrants identified in Libya for evacuation to Nigeria. The evacuation was carried out by Maxair Boeing 747. The migrants were received in batches by the presidential delegation led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Oyama, in the first instance, followed by the Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, as well as other government officials. In all the batches received, the migrants were subjected to medical checks to ascertain their state of health for onward rehabilitation and reintegration into the society. And turning to business, main equity index in Africa's biggest economy, Nigeria, has surged by 12% this year in dollar terms, bringing it to highest level since 2008. With this, the Nigerian stocks are leading the world so far with this year. With investor sentiment turning more bullish on Nigeria, key players say a re-rating of the Nigerian stock market is now on the way. The federal government's efforts at reviving the economy have so far received the commendation of investors. And to other parts of the world, Sudan says it has sent more troops to its eastern border with Eritrea as tension in the Red Sea region continues to rise. Early this month, Khartoum closed its border with Eritrea and sent troops to its border region of Kassala, following reports that Egypt has deployed troops in Asmara. Sudanese Foreign Minister Ibrahim Gandor said after meeting his Ethiopian counterpart Wakne Bebeyehu in Khartoum on Sunday, Sudan's National Army has sent parts of its forces to the area to protect Sudan's sovereignty, as they have information some parties are targeting their interest. The meeting took place amidst deteriorating relations between Sudan and Ethiopia on one side and Egypt and Eritrea on the other. Khartoum has also recalled its ambassador in Cairo. The latest tension was sparked after Sudan signed an agreement to temporarily hand over the Red Sea island of Suakin to Turkey. And that's the top stories on the hour. Thanks for watching.
This is the network service of the NTA.
For anyone on the bench of the Nigerian judiciary, this chamber is the ultimate.
Let us all strive to maintain good tenets of judiciary so as to ensure the rule of law.
And the fact that the ministry is responsible for prosecution of cases makes the ministry very visible naturally.
If it is to buy time, you know who is buying time.
Becoming the first woman in the country to discharge the function. To me, Allah wished it that way.
Welcome to the program, The Scale of Justice.
Tune in every Monday at 2:05 p.m. and repeat broadcast comes up every Wednesday at 6:30 a.m. on the network service of the NTA. Keep the dates with us.
It's the program you call The Scale of Justice. Again, that program that gives you an access into the happenings in the justice sector in Nigeria. And on this program today, we continue our evaluation of the year 2017 and a possible look into the things that we are expecting to happen in 2018. Welcome to the program. I remain yours, Femi Okewu. In today's edition of the program, we are taking up some critical stakeholders in the justice sector in Nigeria. Legal practitioners, you expect them to be, yes, but they are right there at the top of the happenings in all the facets of the justice sector. The first one is going to be the president of the Nigerian Bar Association. And if you talk about happenings in the justice sector and the legal practice generally, you know that he is on top of the issues. And we will be looking at the happenings in 2017 and possibly looking at some of the other things we expect in 2018. Let me hint that 2018 is an election year for the Nigerian Bar Association, and so we might be going a little into politics. For now, enjoy what we have for you on the program, and we'll see you at the end.
Well, thank you very much, Femi, and thanks for coming over here to discuss this with us. Obviously, 2017 has been a very eventful year for the legal profession. There have been many challenges, as you're aware, especially from the close of 2016. But thankfully, many things began to settle, and we began also to see a lot of initiatives in terms of improving the justice sector, and a lot of initiatives from the part of the Chief Justice, for instance, who had just assumed duty, I think, beginning of the year, sometimes early March. And so far so good, I would say. From the point of view of the NBA, there have been several initiatives, several activities. We came in with the objective of improving and helping to raise public confidence in the legal profession. And we came up with a number of ideas, and in the course of the year, a lot of steps were taken to really begin to actualize those. Many of them are still work in progress in terms of the improvement of, say, the regulation of the legal profession. But they have begun to yield some fruit, in my view, and we hope we'll see conclusion towards the middle of this year on a lot of those initiatives.
How did you get out of that embarrassing situation early in 2017?
Yes, I'm sure they are referring to some of the events of late 2016, precisely from October 2016, when we saw some of the embarrassing incidents that occurred, in which the judiciary came under some sort of scrutiny and probe, and we saw some of those incidents. Now, those incidents, I think a lot of lessons have been learned, and hopefully they have gone, and we do not wish to see a recurrence of those. But the judiciary itself started looking inwards itself and trying to see how it can really improve on its activities and its operations. And so hopefully this will be for the better. And I'm sure as we begin to see results, Nigerians will begin to be more confident on the nation's judiciary. On the part of the bar, I think we also have certainly learned a lot from these experiences. And it has become clear that a lot of work needs to be done in terms of enhancing public confidence in the legal profession, and we're working on that.
Part of the work that has to be done is, for instance, the anti-corruption commission which you have, and the NBA, and the workshop which you organized in 2017. Are these schemes working?
These are not one-off activities. They are a process, and we have begun the process. So yes, we are beginning to see results as part of these processes. So certainly I would say there have been positive responses to many of the initiatives. The bar is working with the judiciary, as you know, for instance, in terms of the anti-corruption campaigns and also anti-corruption trials. We are working to see that these are fast-tracked, and this really put on the trajectory that will improve not only the processes but also the outcomes. So yes, we're beginning to see positive results from this.
That workshop pointed out to judges some of the areas which the Administration of Criminal Justice Act allows them to function, but which are not being explored for now. Have there been reactions to those kind of areas? For instance, the non-custodial sentencing in the Administration of Criminal Justice Act.
I think one of the outcomes of that workshop that you referred to at the Hilton last year was to emphasize and to bring out the need for capacity building, both amongst judges and also amongst prosecutors and other stakeholders. Now, essentially, the Criminal Justice Act has a number of initiatives and innovations which have not been fully actualized, partly due to lack of training in those specific new methods and new approaches to, so say, custodial sentence, non-custodial sentencing, and other also approaches. So one of the things we're trying to do is to ensure that judges, prosecutors, and other stakeholders are well trained to take advantage of all the innovations and all the new provisions in the Act. So we're working on that, and hopefully we will also see some improvements in those areas.
How have you, as a body, the NBA, responded to the initiatives of the Chief Justice of Nigeria in the composition of designated courts and a committee to monitor the speedy dispensation of trials, financial crimes and corruption crimes?
Well, those initiatives are essentially aimed at speeding up trials, especially of high-profile criminal corruption cases. And this obviously is important and is necessary. As you know, there is a lot of public concern and public interest in the slow pace of most of these trials, and also often also dissatisfaction with the outcomes of these trials. So the initiative by the Chief Justice to designate courts and also to set up the Justice Galadima Committee, I think, are all aimed at improving the process and ensuring that the courts give special adequate attention to these cases, and also that we have a mechanism for monitoring the progress of these cases. And I think these are all very good initiatives. The Bar Association is working closely to support these initiatives. In 2 days' time, we will be having a high-level workshop being organized by the Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption, and part of the objective is to review this framework for this case, trial of these cases. And the Galadima Committee is also working in earnest, and the NBA is fully represented. So all of these initiatives really go to show the concern of the judiciary and the legal profession, widely speaking, on the need to have a functional system of justice, and especially to address criminal trials, particularly the high-profile cases.
What is your reaction to complaints as an NBA president that are on the membership of some bar members in that committee?
Those issues were discussed by the National Judicial Council extensively, and the general feeling is that there is probably some misunderstanding in terms of the responsibility of this committee that was inaugurated by the Chief Justice. I don't think some of our members understood the intention. We are not exercising supervisory function or jurisdiction over the work of the court. It's just to monitor what is going on and to identify possible loopholes and also possible bottlenecks, and to then make recommendations to the National Judicial Council on the best way to address these issues. So I don't think there's any conflict in terms of the membership. Obviously, some of our members on the committee are prominent lawyers who have been involved in a lot of these trials, but that is not in any way conflictual with their responsibility to the committee. And if there is any potential conflict, those will be handled within the usual rules of handling conflict matters in meetings, and I don't see any problem with that.
What is there any other responsibility of this committee other than fast-tracking trials?
No, just like I said, to identify any possible lapses, possible loopholes. This could be in terms of provision of adequate resources. We're also supposed to look at practice directions, which can be issued or modified by the Chief Justice, and advise him on this. So is not taking on responsibilities that could in any way hinder the work of the courts. The basic responsibility of the committee is really to advise on policies that can overall improve on the system, and I don't see any problem with that. And I'm sure that all of the lawyers and all of the members of the committee are very experienced people, and will avoid any situation where the committee will be seen to be transgressing to the work of the court, which is not the intention anyway.
2017 was your last full year as president of the Nigerian Bar Association. Can we allow you to talk about some of the major things that you think you have done for the Nigerian Bar Association?
I think obviously I may not be the best person to evaluate the success of my leadership at the bar, but I think we have done quite a lot in terms of the programs that we set for ourselves, and also the objectives of the administration and the promises that we made. I would say that the NBA brand, to some extent, has been highly brought out and raised in terms of perception. We have had a number of initiatives, including, of course, on the pet area, which I have focused on improving the quality of regulation, and we've come up with a lot of ideas and suggestions. In terms of other programs, in terms of public interest engagements, our interventions in the Northeast, in Southern Kaduna, in several other areas, Niger Delta, have been very, very useful and successful, and has improved the perception of lawyers, pro bono legal services, our initiatives with the Human Rights Commission, with the Legal Aid Council, with the Special Advisor on Sustainable Development Goals. As you know, we had a very successful conference last year, which many of our members claimed it to be the best in the history of the Bar Association, and we intend to try to maintain the quality of that conference. And a lot of our engagements internationally have also brought a lot of useful attention to and partnerships with the Bar Association and the Law Society in England, for instance, the Bar Council, the American Bar Association, South African Law Society. So all of these engagements have brought out the Nigerian legal profession in a very positive light, and we hope we'll be pushing further with all of these initiatives to consolidate them as we wind up our tenure.
Let's look at conduct of lawyers. Did you record any major scandals during the year? Talking about the work of the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee, it has remained a veritable tool for control.
There have been a lot of complaints regarding conduct of lawyers, and what we have tried to do is to make sure that we improve the process of addressing complaints, speed up the process, and make sure that effective sanctions are meted out. Beyond that, we are trying to look at the entire framework for handling complaints. And as part of the work we are now doing and the improvement of the regulation, this is a major area that will see dramatic new changes. If if the work that we've set out to do concludes successfully. During our legal services mission to the UK end of last year, one of the major areas that came out for us very clearly is the handling of legal complaints, both in terms of service complaints, that is complaints by clients or consumers of legal services, in terms of adequacy of services or quality of services, but also in terms of professional misconduct. And one of the things we're trying to do is really to separate these two and to make sure that adequate avenues are created and processes well established for dealing with this.
Let's quickly take a peek into 2018. It's like the year is starting on a very positive note for the justice sector, the judiciary, I should say. The budget, the government budget for the judiciary has jumped from 70 billion to 100 billion. That's a positive start for 2018. How do you look at 2018 for the judiciary in Nigeria?
Well, in terms of the budget, which is still, for the 2018, is still a proposal. But as we did say when we saw the president, that is President Muhammad Buhari, end of December 21st, we commended his administration for trying to improve the budget of the judiciary. But we did say even the 100 billion, much as it is an improvement on the previous years of 70 billion, is still a far cry from what the budget should be in terms of recognized appropriate ratio. I think we're still in the recommendations through various judiciaries at all levels in the country.
2018 is also an election year for the Nigerian Bar Association. What are we to expect?
It's an election year, correct, and what we have been trying to do is to try to tone down the electioneering activities, to try to emphasize to our members this is a professional body and it's not a political association, and we do not expect the kind of campaigns that characterize previous elections to be repeated. This is eroding the quality of the NBA brand in our view, and is eroding confidence in the legal profession, that we run our elections as if it was a political party election or as if it's a national election. So we have been talking to the contestants to try to caution them, and hopefully that will sink in. In addition, we are looking at the rules, and certainly we will be making them more stringent in terms of all the activities and trying to monitor them. Other than that, clearly what we hope to see is much more professional approach to these elections, and to that lawyers should choose their leaders in a much more professional manner. And we have a learning from other more matured bar associations. So one thing that the Bar Association would like to do is to caution on all political actors and politicians generally to mellow down on the rhetorics and on the narratives of some of these activities, so as not to aggravate the already difficult situation for the country. So we'll be looking forward to more responsible conduct across the country of all political actors, and to make sure that peace and harmony is not disturbed, even as we go into electioneering period. So this is a major concern for the Bar Association.
The NBA intervened in the Southern Kaduna conflict, and how useful has that been for you as a person, the NBA and Nigeria?
Well, obviously the Bar Association is only, of course, one major actor. And in every conflict situation, there are several interest groups, and in the country as well, that there are many stakeholders that ought to be involved in all of these processes. And we're trying to do our own bit to draw attention to these issues, and to also bring in our knowledge and experience and expertise in addressing these problems. The Southern Kaduna issue you mentioned, yes, we had a mission to Southern Kaduna, at which we interacted with all the stakeholders, including the governor of the state and other community leaders, and they're trying to appeal for calm and also to appeal for a much more measured sort of reactions and responses to some of these issues. I think it was very useful. We had a town hall meeting in, I think it was in Kafanchan, and very useful interaction with all the stakeholders. Obviously, these things need to be sustained, not only by the Bar Association, but all other well-meaning groups. We planned a similar mission to Benue coming weekend, and at which we hope we will be meeting with all the stakeholders. And hopefully these sort of missions will contribute to peace-building efforts across the country, and we hope that we'll begin to see similar interventions and similar concerns, and when all of these efforts come together, hopefully they'll begin to yield positive results. But I think the Bar has learned quite a lot from these experiences, and we hope that what we're doing will also contribute to easing the tension in these areas.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for coming on the scale and letting us know what has been on the mind of NBA in the last 1 year.
Well, thank you, Femi, and hope you'll continue to partner with us as we approach another year, and I hope that you know, the challenges will be less than the previous years.
Abubakar Mahmoud there talking to us on series of things that have happened in the justice sector and legal practice in Nigeria. And of course, we did not leave out the judiciary, which is at the center of everything that revolves around the rule of law in Nigeria. I hope we have been able to shed some light into some of the things that have happened in the past, and also given an insight in some of the things that we're expecting in 2018. We'll see you with more in-depth analysis of these happenings in the future editions of this program. See you again.
Jennifer Igwe. Welcome to another episode of Environment Matters. Earth Day is an annual event marked with the aim of celebrating Mother Earth and the planet's diverse biodiversity. It is aimed at creating awareness on pollution, degradation, climate change, wildlife depletion, and many other environmental issues. This year's theme is environmental and climate literacy, and that is our focus today on Environment Matters. So stay tuned.
This is our world, uh-oh, this is our earth, uh-oh, this is the place where we belong. This is our home, uh-oh, this is our time, uh-oh, this is the place where we come from. Pick up the trash, put it where it should go. You do your part, preserve this earth, you know. This is our world, uh-oh, this is our earth, uh-oh, this is the place where we belong. This is our home, uh-oh, this is our time, uh-oh, this is the place where we come from. Try to read recycle what you can, and do your part and give a helping hand. This is our world, oh, this is our earth, oh, this is the place where we belong. This is our home, oh, this is our time, oh, this is the place where we come from.
Earth Day is a name used for two similar observances. While some celebrate Earth Day around the time of March equinox, others observe the occasion in April 22nd each year. Earth Day aims to inspire awareness of and appreciation for the Earth's environment. It was first celebrated in 1970 and is now coordinated globally by the Earth Day Network and celebrated in more than 192 countries.
The Earth doesn't need us, we need the Earth. Nature can take care of the Earth, but human beings need the Earth to be able to live. That's why it's important.
Earth is the only home we have. We don't have any other place that we can call our home. Imagine if you don't take care of your house. What kind of trouble will you get into? Quite a bit. You'll get into all kind of trouble. Your house will be messy, dirt everywhere, you invite rodents and all kinds of other things. But when you keep your home clean, even your health will become better.
The Earth Day Network says a huge number of people have joined the environmental movement since the first Earth Day in 1970.
We have become so many people in this earth. We are now about 7.2 billion. And in the next few years, we shall be something like 10 billion people. Imagine that in 2050, we think that Nigeria will be the third most populated country in the world. That means we'll need a lot of food for the people, we'll need schools for the children, we'll need health centers and hospitals for the people. The more we increase on the planet, the more we put pressure on this earth to give us what we need to be sustained. So we need to grow the economies of our countries. We need to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity, but we have to make sure that we keep this earth for ourselves and for the future generations. It has become even more difficult. Some of you, the older ones, can imagine when you first came to Lagos, the number of people you would see on the streets. Now imagine 10, 15 years later, the number of people you see in Lagos alone. That shows you, and that's Lagos, but it's happening all over the world. So we are becoming so many people on this earth. We have to do whatever we can to make sure that this earth still sustains us. Because whatever we eat, whatever we enjoy on this earth comes from the earth. And if we don't look after it, I come from a country and a community where we look after cows. I come from Uganda and we look after cows. We know one principle, that if you want a cow to give you good milk, you have to feed it. If you are not going to feed the cow properly, you will not get good milk from the cow. It is the same with our earth. For us to enjoy the benefits of the earth, we have to look after it very well.
Earth Day is usually celebrated with outdoor performances where individuals or groups perform acts of service to the earth. Typical ways of observing Earth Day includes planting trees, picking up roadside trash, conducting various programs for recycling and conservation, including using recyclable containers for snacks and lunch. Some people are encouraged to sign petitions to governments calling for stronger or immediate action to stop global warming and to reverse environmental destruction.
We now honor our dearest homeless planet Earth for all the love you may give. Yes, you've sacrificed and have suffered great
of biodiversity on Earth, experts say, can be attributed to behavior of human beings detrimental to the environment. The theme for Earth Day is geared towards improving environmental and climate change literacy, captures the many challenges bedeviling the world today and the need to tackle them through strategic education and initiatives.
And we know that the development challenge in Nigeria and in most other parts of the world is very severe. Climate change, of course, is impacting severely and worsening the conditions of the living conditions of the people. That's why it's important. And if the projections and the scenarios for the future continue to be the way scientists have stated they would be, it tells us that the living conditions will get worse with very wide, severe consequences beyond just agriculture, environment, but also social conflicts and all those kind of issues. And that's why it's very, very important for that. And if the climate continues to change the way it's being projected, of course, with rising human population, of course, people will become much more desperate for survival and therefore constitute more danger to the environment.
The first Earth Day celebration was marked on April 22nd, 1970. It was initiated by United States Senator Gaylord Nelson as an environmental teaching. The first Earth Day was on protesting oil spill off the coast of California, but today the focus is on increasing awareness on the planet and environmental issues including health, from water pollution, rainforest depletion, animal extinction, biodiversity loss, and other environmental degradation. It sparked the political change needed to create the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the passage of a landmark legislation, including the Clean Air, Clean Water, and Endangered Species Act.
Is our life support system. Everything that we need for our life, starting with the oxygen and then the water, food, it all comes from the healthy environment. So it's very, very significant that something that started almost 50 years ago has now turned into a massive global movement of over 1 billion people celebrating the earth and bringing attention to the fact that we need to protect this earth. It's the only one we have, and it's the only one we're ever gonna have. And it doesn't just belong to us, it's entrusted in our care. And we need to keep it in order that we can hand it over to our children. And right now, a lot of the things we're doing are impacting so negatively against aspects of the life support system of this earth that if we continue this way, we will have bequeathed onto our children a calabash full of poison. And I don't believe that anybody in their right mind would want their legacy for their children to be a calabash full of poison. God forbid that we will allow the wickedness or the hardness of our hearts to do this negative thing to our children.
The United Nations General Assembly recognized that Mother Earth is a common expression for the planet Earth in a number of countries and regions, which reflects the interdependence that exists among human beings, other living species, and the planet. And also noting that Earth Day is observed each year in many countries, decided to designate April 22nd as International Mother Earth Day through a resolution adopted in 2009. It also recognizes a collective responsibility as called for in the 1992 Rio de Janeiro Declaration to promote harmony with nature and the earth, to achieve a just balance among the economic, social, and environmental needs of the present and future generations of humanity.
Nature. I've been here for over 4.5 billion years. 22,500 times longer than you. I don't really need people, but people need me. Yes, your future depends on me. When I thrive, you thrive. When I
exist among human beings, other living species, and the planet. And also noting that Earth Day is observed each year in many countries, decided to designate April 22nd as International Mother Earth Day through a resolution adopted in 2009. It also recognizes the...
Not mine. I am nature. I will go on. I am prepared to evolve. Are you?
This is still Environment Matters. Now, every year, millions of people the world over mark International Mother Earth Day. It is their own way of showing support for environmental protection. Today on Environment Matters, we'll be looking at what some volunteers and environmentalists did in Lagos to mark Earth Day by targeting a beach. It is crucial to note that scientists have said that those who live along coastlines are worst hit by the impacts of climate change because of the impact of sea level rise. And this situation is often aggravated by pollution and environmental degradation. So let's find out what the volunteers did and why it is crucial that we keep our environment, especially the coastline, clean. Exercise first for energy before embarking on a nature task. Old and young, their purpose is same: keeping the Kiddies Beach in Lekki, Lagos clean.
So she gave each group one row. Yes. Two, three things that
Wonderful thing about cleaning up the beach is that it prevents all kinds of erosion. Erosion is the most important aspect of it. When you don't clean the beach, you have all kinds of, like plants, like all of these coconut trees that we planted, you wouldn't have them. Now I recall in the 70s and early 80s, this area used to be full of palm trees, coconut trees rather. It used to be full of it. We used to walk all the way. You'd walk probably a mile from the road down to the beach. We didn't have erosion issues. If you look down this lane all the way to Ekpe, you'll find out there is significant erosion issues. All of this is because of the dirt and the things and how we have used the beach shore. So we need to begin to consider the cleanup of the beach and the replanting of these coconut trees. If we don't do that, we'll lose a whole massive amount of land to the ocean.
A lot of the degradation occurs here at the beach. You can see from what we have done, from the particularly plastics that are coming from where I don't know. But if you go around all the beaches and see the damage plastics are doing to the environment, is massive. So we thought that it's best to start with the beach and clear particularly this beach, and then maybe as we go along, go around other beaches to extend and focus.
The fact that because we have some sea animals that come here to nest, the sea turtle for example, we've released about 2 sea turtles here, and then the last time we released 22 sea turtles. The fact that the sea turtles are very important in the ocean and they protect our fishes and all of that. That is the more reason why we should protect it. So many people eat the sea turtle in this country. We need you to stop eating the sea turtles. They need our help. They need to clean the ocean. They need to help our fishes thrive. You know, that is why we chose this beach.
Plastic waste materials, for instance, which are usually non-biodegradable and can persist in the environment for decades, are some of the worst types of waste materials that usually litter beaches in Lagos.
Fish is on the floor. It doesn't stay there. The sea, unfortunately, washes it. It gets into the sea, and when it gets into the sea, the animals in the sea, the fishes, and the crabs, they eat it. They fall sick, sometimes they die. And if they're not dead, we eat sea animals like fish, we fall sick and we can also die.
We have found out that a lot of debris in the ocean, especially plastics, is detrimental to the marine life. And therefore we want this awareness, everybody to know that we should work so hard to, in the first place, we shouldn't allow plastics and all the dirt to go in the sea, that will kill our marine life. We enjoy a lot of things from the sea, and we should make sure we replenish this sea. But broadly, rather than that, observing Earth Day is reminding us that we have this planet, Earth. We have known that there are other planets out there, but we are not sure that there's another planet that can support our life as this planet. It is the only planet we have. That's why the UN Secretary General said we have no planet B, and therefore we have no plan B. The plan is to preserve what we have. Everybody working hard to preserve this planet. The idea is that people should be more aware of the link between what they consume and what they do with what they consume, and the waste they produce with what they consume. In other words, what the plastics you use can affect the food that you want to enjoy tomorrow. We want to create that link, and this is one of the things we've done today. We also want to create the link between cutting down trees and what you breathe and what you need for the future generations. So it is also creating this awareness to people that your actions have an impact on what happens to the earth, and we have to do certain things to make sure that we replenish what we take out of the earth for us to survive.
There's so much pollution, there's so much plastic goes into the water these days, and they say that by 2050 the amount of plastic in the water will be more than the fish, and the fish are eating the plastic, is killing off bird life, it's killing off the fishes, it's doing so much damage. So it's very, very important to clean up the beach. This particular beach is particularly important because it is an official turtle breeding ground. So turtles come here to breed, to lay their eggs, the eggs hatch, and they go back into the sea, and they're protected here. And the turtle is very, very, very essential, very, very important for the ocean, because turtle is one of the few creatures that can eat the jellyfish and control the jellyfish population. If the turtles are too few, the jellyfish will be too many, and then they will be now devouring the fish, which is what's happening. Fishermen here complain that, when we go to fish, it's not like what we used to catch before. So this is an official turtle breeding ground, and it needs to be cleaned and protected.
The beach cleanup was also an avenue for education on the impact of climate change and the need for strategic adaptation initiatives at all levels.
Climate changes, there's a whole lot of things happening to the climate. You find odd stuff, like now. It shouldn't really be raining now, but it's raining. It shouldn't be raining now. Rain usually comes just about June, a little further down into the year. But now it's raining, even in January, even in December. We have a whole lot of odd stuff happening with the weather. If you're having things like this, we lose our ecosystem and things will start going wrong. So we must all be concerned about the climate and begin to work together towards making it better. The importance of planting the trees to regenerate this particular ecosystem. If we don't regenerate it, we lose them. Every day we lose inch and inch and inch and inch further down into the land, into the areas we call home. Some of these houses that you see around, if we don't do something about it, they will not be there. I don't know if you recall, Bar Beach used to be way down, but now it's right at our doorstep. And as we reclaim some portion of it, some other portion get even further eroded. So if we plant a tree, the tree will grow, and when it grows, it holds the soil down more and prevents erosion.
The climate is under threat. You know, the climate is changing. Global warming is changing the climate. And because of the climate change, we're having all sorts of problems, sociological problems. One of the main causes of social unrest and insecurity in the northern region is because pasture lands and places where people used to have a lot of crops, a lot of food, have been turned to desert. And you know, they say a hungry man is an angry man, let alone a man that has no water becomes a madman, and he can say peace be unto you and blow the two of you up. Yeah, that's what's happening because of climate change. You know, it's changed over there. Because of climate change, we're getting the ocean is coming and causing erosion, all sorts of problems on the coast, heavy rains in the middle belt causing erosion. God in his infinite mercy and wisdom has created a perfect system And we are putting too much imperfection into God's perfect system, and it's not behaving or working the way it was designed to work anymore because of our pollution. We put too much pollution in there, and that's what's causing the climate change.
In recent times, the need for a cleaner environment, experts say, has become more pertinent and increasingly urgent, with the impact of climate change manifesting more and more.
The people from the villains catch the crooks who rob the stores.
That's all we can take today on Environment Matters. Until next week, when another episode of the program comes your way, like I always say on this program, and I'm sure I'll never get tired of saying that, remember the earth is ours, the only one we have, and it is important for us to save it.
As for our news, we are always on top of the situation. We serve it hot, fresh and reliable. Current issues are handled with great caution and maturity.
First to be inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari is 250-bed capacity ultra-modern specialist hospital, Giginyu, named after him.
This hospital, the first of its kind in the region, is a true reflection of what a pro-people government is all about.
UN Political Affairs Chief has begun a rare 4-day visit to Pyongyang.
If it is not on NTA International, then it is not happening anyway. Be our guest as we take you on a journey of information, entertainment and education.
We cannot call it a day without bringing you the sights as captured in the seat of power, Abuja.
The only one I ever see with a smile so bright.
You will be glad you did. We are on DSTV channel 251. Watch out.
NTA International News, Africa as it is.
Abuja, Nigeria's federal capital city, nestles within gently rolling hills. It is landmarked by modern architecture, greenery, parks, and broad waterways. It is a city that's fast becoming the preferred destination point for tourism, meetings, and conferences in West Africa.
Welcome to Abuja, the capital of the country. Here you will discover Nigeria's religious and cultural diversity, while enjoying the many international hotels offering first-rate hospitality and top-of-the-class business facilities. Step into the exciting city of Lagos, a place where tradition and modernity come together. Nightlife and thriving music scene of one of the most vibrant cities on earth. Rediscover relaxation in Nigeria's southern state of Akwa Ibom. Enjoy the finest hospitality at Le Meridien Hotel and Golf Resort, where the lush greens of the world-class 18-hole golf course and its unique location in the middle of the jungle will ensure a lifetime of memories. Discover the beautiful city of Calabar, capital of the Cross River State, a lovely and peaceful place located on the southeast coast. Immerse yourself in the local traditions and get in touch with Nigeria's rich cultural history through the many festivals around the country.
Now to throw away quick. This guy's smell fit make man sick. That woman to wait the tea for ground. Myself go do the same this time around.
Hold up. See, to do this kind of badness by the book, you make sure say person or the look, and then you drop am nicely, bros. Nothing will happen. Trust me.
See, if you throw away dirty for ground, another person self throw away dirty. Everybody come begin to throw away dirty for ground. Everywhere go call the smell. Gutter go block, road go block, and you will like to the dab. I say no more dabbing for you be that too. Dab.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Nigeria attracts $6.85 billion investment in 9 months. Chinese investors to build a multi-dollar modular refinery in Nigeria's Niger Delta region. Plus, Nigeria's economic growth projections. What's your take on it? And the capital market continued its positive and negative runs as the market finally took a breather after 6 straight days of gains, with investors booking their profits for a whirlwind start to 2018. Indeed, stocks gained 1.7 trillion naira in 8 days, positive for our economy in many fronts. And at about 1 hour ago, trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange remained on a positive run, gaining 0.9 in the O-Share Index. This is Business Express, coming to you from our Abuja studios. I am Amina Nujaim, your guide for today. Attracted $6.85 billion worth of investment in the first 9 months of 2017. While some state governments took advantage of the portfolio investors' appetite for the Nigerian market, others allowed the opportunity to slip them by. Between January and September last year, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Benue, Borno, Cross Rivers, Delta, Ebonyi, Ekiti, Gombe, Imo, Jigawa, Kaduna and Kano states. Investors from China have indicated interest in building a multi-billion-dollar modular refinery in Nigeria's Niger Delta region. The modular refinery initiative, which featured predominantly in talks between the federal government and the oil-producing regions, was to discourage illegal refineries and oil pollution. Mr. Xiao Jiang, leader of the delegation, said the group is also investing in other areas of the Nigerian economy, especially agriculture and infrastructure. We are a group of Chinese investors looking for investment opportunities. I believe we have so many areas of interest and opportunities to invest in Nigeria, he said at a meeting with the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, Mrs. Abike Dabiri Erewa, in Abuja. Nigeria is AFDB's largest shareholder with a portfolio of approximately $6 billion and the country's operations accounting for 13% of the lender's total portfolio. In recognition of Nigeria's role in supporting international development financing, President Muhammadu Buhari will inaugurate the new office complex of the Africa Development Bank in Abuja on Thursday, consolidating the country's position as the bank's largest shareholder. The state-of-the-art Nigeria Country Department Office Complex, situated in the Central Business District of Abuja, the first permanent structure to be designed and constructed in any region member country by the bank, following the Board of Directors' approval of the rent or acquire premises for field offices policy. The recommendation to construct a new office in Abuja. Construction work started in January 2016 and lasted 16 months. The 220 staff capacity 4-story building would now become a model for replication in other countries, the bank said in a statement on Sunday. Now, it's good news for Nigeria as the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, is appointed into the Investment Committee of the United Nations Joint Staff Pension Fund. A statement from the ministry on Sunday said the Under-Secretary General of the UN, John Beagle, confirmed Adeosun's appointment. Beagle, the statement noted, said Adeosun would serve as a one-year term from January 1st, 2018. It quoted Beagle to have said, on behalf of the Secretary General, I have the honor to inform you that at the 55th plenary meeting of the 72nd session of the General Assembly decided to appoint you as an ad hoc member of the Investment Committee for a one-year term of office beginning from the 1st of January 2018. The representative of the UN Secretary General of the Investment Committee, Mrs. Caroline Boykin, also congratulated Adeosun on her appointment and welcomed her to the panel. Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, has accepted the appointment. The Nigerian economy will be significantly better this year, going by consistent positive trends of key indicators since the country emerged from recession in the second quarter of last year. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udo Udoma, has said. Udoma spoke at the 2018 Economic Outlook Forum for the Redeemed Christian Church of God, King's Court Parish in Lagos. In a statement by the Special Advisor Media to the Minister, Apandem James, on Sunday, said the positive sentiment were shared by most international and local rating agencies who supported the view that the Nigerian economy was poised to grow rapidly this year. The minister indicated the growth would create opportunities for investment in areas such as agriculture, agro-processing industry, mining, constructions and services. International development agencies and the federal government have a common position on the positive outlook of Nigeria's economy in 2018. However, their positions on the percentage growth rate appears to be a point of disagreement, looking at various indicators. Muplang Dakok tells us more.
$179 billion foreign exchange value at the end of 2017, Nigeria is considered to be Africa's largest economy, with oil accounting for about 12% of its GDP. The World Bank, in its latest economic forecast, projects that the Nigerian economy would grow at 2.5% in 2018, while the International Monetary Fund projects growth at 2.1%. The World Bank says global economic outlook remains in a positive terrain at 3.1% in 2018 and 2.8% in 2019 and 2020. Meanwhile, Nigeria's 2018 budget of consolidation in its macroeconomic outlook projections expect GDP to grow by 3.5% in 2018, 0.5% higher than the 3.0% for 2017. Interestingly, Nigeria's economy witnessed 131.3% growth in the value of capital importation in 2017, while inflation trend remained positive. Proactive forex policies have continued to enhance Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve above $40 billion. A Nigerian professor of economics also expressed a positive outlook but suggests caution.
The various negotiations that will actually give Nigeria a command of presence in the global economy, particularly with respect to trade and investment, must be addressed. And on the domestic front, the basic monetary policy and the fiscal policy, they are actually tidied up to actually ensure that the productive sector of the economy, they continue producing well and creating confidence. That confidence in the ease of doing business, which is under the Vice President, they are doing quite well.
The upward revision of Nigeria's forecast is based on the expectation that oil production will continue to recover and that reforms will lift non-oil sector growth. In Abuja, Muplang Dakok.
Many thanks, Muplang. And to analyze developments in key sectors of the economy and put in perspective the various economic growth projections is former Deputy Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Obadiah Milafia. Thanks for joining us on Business Express.
Thank you so much, Amina. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nice to have you. Now, for 2018 economic projections, we have World Bank 2.5%. IMF 3.7%, Fitch rating says 2.6%, while Nigeria's ERGP indicators is projecting 3.5%. Can we make sense of these contradicting figures?
Well, actually, the art as well as the science of economic projection is never quite accurate. Sometimes it's like shooting a dart in the dark. Sometimes, you know, you put together a set of data, you do your permutations, and you come out with, I would say I will take an average of actually all those projections. If you take an average of all of them, you're probably going to arrive at a figure that looks more. Some can be a little bit optimistic, some can be a little bit pessimistic. I'm pleasantly surprised that of the ERGP and that of the IMF, which is normally a very conservative organization, that they are more accurate than those of the others. You know, Fitch at 2.1, the World Bank at 2.5, and so on. So in the end, we should expect something like 3%. That is taking the average of all of those ones. For me personally, as a development economist, to sit down and make a projection, I would have to gather all these data series and do some permutations myself. But on generally, we can take an average of all those projections.
What would you say the key indicators are?
Well, the key indicators is to look at trends, key trends in the key sectors of the macroeconomy. In agriculture, in services, in solid minerals, in building and construction, and then you say, look, what has been the time series trend like, and what are the factors likely to impact on those dynamics, and out of that, you now determine what you think the rate would be, all considered. So. Well, I would say, you know, they would have looked at key trends like, you know, what is happening in the oil industry, what is happening in solid minerals, in manufacturing, in social services, in banking, and the rest. And they would take do those analysis and arrive at some projections.
Okay, let's move forward now. Talk to us sustaining that in the long run.
68 3 days ago, we've now reached 70. Well, you see us sustaining it? Well, it is not us sustaining it, it's the global oil industry itself sustaining it. We need to be able to take good advantage of that, to support manufacturing, to support the other key drivers, and to ensure that the growth is sustained over a long time. We have to, it's a delicate process, managing an economy. You have to look at the key sectors very well. You have to tinker where you need to tinker. And above all, you need to give close attention to the monetary sector, because money is the lifeblood of any economy. When you have too much inflation, when you have high interest rates, they are likely to still impact negatively. So we need to bring down the interest rates. We need to stabilize the foreign exchange market. We need to make it more transparent, so that we're sending the right signals. We also need to bring down inflation. So, and above all, we need an atmosphere of peace. Without peace and harmony, nothing can happen.
Okay, now the value of capital importation in the third quarter of 2017 hit 131.3%, with experts pointing to better days in 2018. What's your take on that?
Well, this is encouraging. Well, you see, the 131 is from whatever base point we're looking at. If it is from 2014 to 2015, then of course it is a very huge jump, because there was a time that investors took their money and fled the country. There were rumors of catastrophe, breakdown of the country and so on. So they were very frightened. Now they're coming back, and in fact my projection is that even this year, before the end of this year, we would record even more, because with the positive projections given by the fund in particular, and even the World Bank, we should expect more investors to come in. But we have to stabilize the country. We must bring about law and order, peace and security. Otherwise, unfortunately, those projections might not come true.
Okay, let's go to the budget now. The 2018 budget is still in the National Assembly.
Sure.
Plus the implementation of the ERGP.
Yes.
How do you reconcile that?
Well, we need to work together. I mean, both the government and the legislators need to work together to get the appropriation bill speedily passed. I've heard complaints on both sides, but we need people who are very constructive to come in there and broker a situation where we should get this thing signed off, either this month or latest in February. That is extremely important. And the ERGP has come up with an implementation framework. I mean, all kudos to Honorable Minister Udoma and his team, Zainab and the rest. They've worked very hard, and I can appreciate the work they've done, but we need to take it up from there. There are political considerations to ensuring that this budget is speedily passed and speedily implemented. It is my hope that, inshallah, we can achieve that.
Okay. Mr. Obadiah Melafia, it's been a pleasure having you on Business Express. Dr. Obadiah is a former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, how are the commodity prices playing out in the country? Let's take a look with a graphic summary of commodities in local markets. Nigeria's capital market recorded a gain of 1.7 trillion naira in 8 days, and the week ended 12th of January lived up to bidding. Let's join Musa Abubakar for a look at figures from the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Of 5.021 billion shares valued at 68.974 billion naira traded in 41,542 deals were traded last week by investors on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The NSE All-Share Index appreciated by 10.21% to close the week at 42,898.90, while market capitalization closed at 15.368 trillion naira. The financial services industry, measured by volume-led activity chart, with 3.417 billion shares worth 31.649 billion naira in 24,375 deals. The conglomerate industry followed with 894.357 million shares worth 2.180 billion naira. The third place for the week was occupied by the consumer goods industry, which traded 380.493 million shares valued at 26.243 billion naira. Also traded during the week were 777,535 units of exchange traded products, ETPs, valued at 7.689 million naira were executed in 15 deals. Federal government bonds valued at 6.298 million naira were also traded in 12 deals. Honeywell Flour Mill PLC, Skybank PLC, and Champion Breweries led 10 prize gainers in the week, while Mayor PLC, GlaxoSmithKline, and Dangote Sugar led the table of 7 losers.
Thank you for having me.
The main equity index in Africa's biggest economy, Nigeria, surged 12% this year in dollar terms. In fact, the leading 96 bourses tracked by Bloomberg. What does this say of the Nigerian economic resurgence?
Hello? Hello? That we saw playing out last week were not a surprise to market operators, because all the conditions are there. You saw the projections in the economy. Various institutions are giving positive report in terms of the projection of the Nigerian economy. So you are seeing more and more investors, both domestic and foreign investors, taking advantage of this positive outlook in the Nigerian economy to position themselves in these companies.
Now, with the 12% rise in 14 days, the Nigerian stock experts say that it's the world's best. What would you say the major drivers are?
Well, the Nigerian market has been doing quite well, and you must not rule out the fact that the operators, the regulators, are doing everything possible to ensure that we have a very transparent, efficient and fair market. So most of these factors responsible were, one, the economic outlook that is positive, then of course the performance of some of these equities in Nigerian market, which over time has made investors to have confidence in them. But above all, the confidence of the investors, both foreign and domestic, are the drivers of these things that we are seeing in the market. So I would say the investors' confidence is key. It has increased so well, and of course the performance of these companies that are quoted on the Nigerian market.
Okay, Mr. Charles, let's now look at some figures for the week ended 12th January. A total turnover of 5.021 billion shares worth 68.974 billion naira was traded in 41,542 deals last week. Momentum is not relenting. What's your view on this?
Take your question again. I didn't get it clear.
The Nigerian, for the week ended the 12th of January, the turnover was 5,021 billion shares worth 68 billion in 41,000 deals. The momentum seems to not be relenting. What's your view on this continued momentum?
Of course, we will see, because it's a market, a dynamic market, we will see this momentum continue for a time. And you must also note that the market itself has a behavior. market cannot continue to go up, you will see a period the market begin to pull back. We saw that little on Friday where the market pulled back a little. This is to ensure that more investors will take position, and investors are also taking profit. So we will see the momentum continue for a period. Then we might also now see a pullback. So, but I'll just encourage investor, have a plan for your trade and trade your plan.
Talking about investor confidence, the financial services sector continues to lead other sectors in this momentum. What's your take on that?
We know that the financial service industry or sector is a key component of the Nigerian economy, and we all know that finance is very, very vital in any economy. So that's why you are seeing more and more investors doing investment in the financial service industry. And of course, they've also seen the performance of these equities that are listed in that sector. Over time, they've seen the return from this sector, and that is why the financial service sector will continue to dominate trading in the Nigerian market.
We're now seeing a listing of government privatized companies being explored by BPE and NSE. What are the likely benefits of such developments?
Yes, well, for 2018, I'm very confident the regulators, Nigerian Stock Exchange, SEC, even the operators are doing all they can to ensure that we attract more listing to the market, not only government coming to the market in terms of raising funds through bond, through DMO. I'm going to be seeing other private investors coming to the market, private issuers coming to the market and taking advantage, because there is a lot of advantage when you raise funds from the capital market. The main function of the capital market is capital formation. So issuers should approach the market, do their due diligence, apply and get listed on a stock exchange, and they will be able to access funds that can drive economic development and create more employment and more jobs for our teeming youth. So for 2018, we are going to be seeing more and more companies showing interest to be listed in the Nigerian markets.
Mr. Charles Fakraga, the Chief Relationship Officer and Dealer, Foresight Securities, many thanks for joining us.
Very much.
We wrap up with a look at how major currencies around the globe are trading today. And that's it for now. Indeed, a lot of developments in the business and financial world. Keep a date with us on Wednesday for Business Express. Until then, I am Anina Nujain. Thanks for staying with us.
Also gives you the economic importance of the trees. We are talking of job and wealth creation.
This is the network service of the NTA.
With the war against economic crimes and corruption waxing stronger in Nigeria, it is believed that all citizens, irrespective of class or status, will lend their support to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in its unrelenting effort to eradicate the scourge. Hello and welcome to the program, The Eagle, coming to you from the stables of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. My name is Aisha Gambari. And on the program today, we take a look at EFCC's efforts towards keying into government anti-corruption policies in Nigeria. Investigations into the public service system reveal that Nigeria lost billions of naira to the ghost worker syndrome, a calculated corrupt practice that injected hundreds of thousands of non-existent workers into the government payroll system. According to the Presidential Initiative on Continuous Auditing on the Nominal Roll, about 24,000 ghost workers were discovered in ministries, departments and agencies of government. These workers do not fall under the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System, IPPIS. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, working in concert with the Federal Ministry of Finance, launched a swift operation that saved the government billions of naira, and nearly 40,000 ghost workers were removed from the system. The syndicate behind the monumental scam has been broken as the Commission arrested several individuals alleged to have been involved in the scam. In June 2017, the EFCC arraigned Onukaugu Onyechi Esther, Ebenua Chinazo Jennifer, and Onukaugu Joshua after they were alleged to have drawn salaries as ghost workers for 3 years to the tune of 9 million naira before the law caught up with them. Also arraigned for a similar offense is Dairo Sheung for over 11 million naira salary fraud. Another 9-man syndicate was smashed by the Commission. The syndicate was alleged to have committed 1 billion naira salary fraud involving about 600 workers. Still in government's efforts to check leakages, the federal government introduced the Treasury Single Account, TSA. The TSA, which was introduced in 2012, is a system of accounting that consolidates all inflows from all agencies of government into a single account or a set of linked accounts by governments to ensure all revenue receipts and payments are done through a consolidated revenue account at the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. The TSA allows government banking to be unified and enables the relevant stakeholders such as the Ministry of Finance and Accountant General of the Federation to have full oversight of all cash flows across different banks in the country. Sadly, the TSA was not put to proper use, which led to unquantifiable loss of revenue through leakages. This development necessitated a directive issued by the federal government in August 2015 that every ministry, departments and agencies of government should commence payment into a Treasury Single Account, TSC, for all government revenues, incomes and other receipts. The directive further instructed, and I quote, "All receipts due to the federal government or any of its agencies must be paid into the TSA or designated accounts maintained and operated in the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, except otherwise expressly approved." End of quote. The EFCC again keyed into this pronouncement. Operatives of the Commission, in a swift investigation, discovered several billions of naira hidden away by defaulting agencies, one of which is the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC. In January 2017, a former Director General of the NBC, Emeka Mba, alongside 3 others were arraigned by the Commission. They were alleged to have at various times connived and transferred the sum of about 3 billion naira unremitted funds from the MBC's account through various proxies for their personal gains. Operatives of the Commission also arrested 4 directors of the National Theatre in Lagos after they were accused to have allegedly failed to remit over 30 million naira revenue generated from the use of facilities at the theatre into the federal government Treasury single account. Still on the TSA fraud, in July 2017, Justice Chuka Obiozo of the Federal High Court in Lagos ordered the monetary remittance of about $800 million by 7 Nigerian commercial banks to the federal government. The money was allegedly hidden with the banks in violation of the TSA policy.
Imagine a society where everything works. Durable road networks, stable electricity supply, portable water, well-equipped and functional healthcare facilities, quality education for all, affordable housing schemes, social security benefits, job creation, and a lot more that makes life comfortable to live. That is an ideal society. We can only achieve these if we all play our part. Say no to corruption to enjoy these benefits. Kill corruption to save Nigeria. This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
Still in the efforts of checking economic and financial crimes in Nigeria, the federal government in December 2016 initiated the whistleblower policy. The primary goal of the policy is to support the fight against financial crimes and corruption by increasing exposure of financial crimes and rewarding whistleblowers. In order to promote such exposure, whistleblowers are encouraged and offered protection from harassment and intimidation by their bosses or employers. The hope is that more looted funds will be recovered through the encouragement of voluntary information about corrupt practices. The EFCC has since embraced this policy and several milestones have been recorded. Please stay tuned for more details. The policy consists of 3 components. One focuses on the channels for reporting information and the type of information to be reported. The second deals with reward for reporting fraud. The whistleblower will get between 2.5% minimum and 5% maximum of the recovered loot, provided that there is a voluntary return of stolen or concealed public funds or assets on the account of the information provided. And the third component assures whistleblowers of protection. The EFCC also keyed into this policy by quickly creating reporting portals via its social media platforms at official EFCC and through dedicated phone lines manned 24 hours by staff of the Commission.
Hello, good afternoon EFCC. How may I help you?
The very first call which came through was that which revealed huge sums of money hidden in the slums of Sabon Tasha, a suburb in Kaduna State. The Commission's operatives, in a special operation conducted on 3rd February 2017, discovered huge sums of money in a building said to belong to Dr. Andrew Yakubu, a former Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. Suspected stolen funds to the tune of about 10 million United States dollars and another sum of 74,000 pounds sterling were discovered in cash hidden in a fireproof safe. The Commission in the same month filed for an ex parte application seeking an interim forfeiture of the money before an Abuja High Court. The application was granted even as Yakubu challenged the court order. Still in Kaduna, on March 14, 2017, EFCC operatives also intercepted the sum of about 50 million naira in sacks following a tip-off. They were discovered during a routine baggage screening at the Kaduna International Airport after the sacks were sighted unattended and without tags. A whistleblower's tip also led operatives of the EFCC to intercept huge sums of money inside a Bureau de Change office at the popular Balogun market in Lagos. The interception followed information that cash was being moved somewhere in the market for conversion into foreign currencies by unnamed persons. Also in Lagos, officers of the EFCC's Lagos office also uncovered large sums of suspected London money to the tune of about 500 million naira in a shop at Legiko Shopping Plaza, Hamadu Bello Way, Victoria Island, Lagos. The money kept in several bags was allegedly kept away to be converted into foreign currencies. And in a residential building located on the 7th floor of Osborne Towers, Ikoyi, Lagos, operatives stormed an apartment where foreign currencies and naira notes to the tune of over 13 billion naira were recovered. The operations followed a whistleblower's confidential alert regarding some suspicious movement of bags in and out of a particular apartment in that building. The cash was discovered in large fireproof cabinets hidden within the wall inside the wardrobe. The money has since been forfeited to the federal government.
Corruption is dishonesty and illegal behavior by people in positions of trust. A public office is a public trust. Do not abuse positions of trust for private gains. Stay away from corruption. Nigeria is a great nation, and it is our responsibility to make the country greater. If you notice any act of corruption, please report to the EFCC via info@efccnigeria.org or call 09 904 4751 or 09 904 4752. You can also call 09 904 4753. This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
Thank you for staying with us. In case you're just tuning in, the program is The Eagle, coming to you from the stables of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. We now take a look at the arms deal saga. President Muhammadu Buhari, after his inauguration, set up a committee to look into the irregularities that manned the procurement of arms to combat terrorism in the Northeast. The committee, upon investigation, discovered that in a single stream of transaction, the sum of over $2 billion allegedly moved through the office of a one-time National Security Advisor. Military officers, including former service chiefs, were investigated and arraigned on corruption charges after they were accused of complicity in the now infamous Armsgate saga. Please take a look at the report. One of the flanks of the war being waged by the Ibrahim Magu-led EFCC is leading to the recovery of several billions of dollars regionally provided to combat the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast Nigeria, but which allegedly found its ways into huge private estates of top military and political leaders. The likes of Air Vice Marshal Alex Bade, retired, or former Chief of Defense Staff Adeshola Amosu, also retired, or former Chief of Air Staff, and several others serving and retired generals alongside their civilian counterparts and several politicians were arrested and arraigned for allegedly siphoning money meant for the procurement of arms into their pockets. Also arrested and arraigned in connection of the monumental fraud was Colonel Samba Dazuki, a former security advisor to former President Goodluck Jonathan. While the alleged free stealing and sharing lasted, hundreds of soldiers were dying on the battlefield. Women were raped, children were kidnapped and rendered orphans. Tens of thousands of innocent lives were lost and properties destroyed. The 2 million displaced people in camps across the country, while being thankful for their lives and for surviving the terrorism attacks in their villages, live within harsh conditions in the various camps that they find themselves. In other parts of the country, compatriots continue to live in fear, grief, pain, and sorrow. As the sufferings continued, a few individuals far away in the big cities allegedly wined and dined on what has been called blood money. They acquired properties worth billions of naira, mansions, shopping plazas, luxury cars, jewelries, and even stocked millions of dollars in their wardrobes. as an agency determined to ensure that criminals are denied access to ill-gotten wealth. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, in a well-calculated move, moved from city to city within the country to confiscate all assets traced to the arms deal fraud. For example, in Maitama, Abuja, Nigeria, one of the retired generals being prosecuted allegedly bought properties estimated to worth over 2 billion naira. While searching the buildings, operatives discovered $1 million cash hidden away in one of the rooms. The same military officer invested billions of dollars on other choice properties, one of which is this plaza, whose construction cost about 2 billion naira. Other properties allegedly traced and confiscated by the EFCC in the course of the arms deal investigations include a mansion under construction on Ethiop Close, Maitama, Abuja, worth 600 million naira. Another on Panama Close in Abuja is worth 450 million naira. And an estate on Isia Karabiu Avenue, Wuse to Abuja, is valued roughly at 2 billion naira. And on Kumasi Street, Wuse 2, also in Abuja, is another duplex valued at 320 million naira. On Agada Street, Wuse 2 in Abuja, an edifice worth 495 million naira was uncovered. And on Lake Chad Street, Maitama in Abuja, lies another property bought for 670 million naira. And in White Villa Estate, Hassan Musa Kasina Street, Asokoro, Abuja, the operatives discovered 2 terraced buildings allegedly acquired through illicit wealth for 170 million naira each. And in highbrow areas in Lagos, Nigeria, the EFCC also traced and confiscated a number of properties worth over 5 billion naira linked to the massive arms procurement fraud. Not resting on that, the Commission launched an investigation into the activities of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. An erstwhile minister in that ministry, Daidiani Alison Madueke, and her cronies were alleged to have stolen and laundered money in properties and jewelries worth billions of dollars. After thorough investigations, a search was conducted by the EFCC operatives on Madueke's Abuja home. During the search, operatives discovered boxes of jewelries worth over £2 million suspected to be laundered funds and the sum of over $1 million stacked away in cash. Another property linked to the former minister and her cronies is a luxury 6-bedroom duplex on plot 1853, T.Y. Njuma Close, Asokoro in Abuja. The property was said to have been bought at the sum of $18 million. Other properties traced to Daziani across the country were also attached to a final forfeiture order secured by the EFCC. A federal high court in Ikoyi, Lagos on October 11, 2007. Properties forfeited are 16 4-bedroom terrace at Heritage Court Estate on Moreno Street, Diobi, GRA, Port Harcourt, River State. The property is valued at 928 million naira. And in Abuja, a 13 3-bedroom apartment with 1 maid's quarters at Mabushi Gardens Estate, plots 1205, Cadastral Zone B06 Mabushi, valued at 650 million naira, was also forfeited. This forfeiture order is in addition to another one secured by the EFCC, which ordered the final forfeiture of the sum of 7.6 billion naira loot allegedly recovered from Madueke.
Corruption is a kankawomo, na kankawomo. I said na kankawomo, na kankawomo. Corruption don't finish our country. Nigeria women rise up and come together. Oh yeah, every woman come out. We will fight corruption together. Oh, every woman fall out. We will kill corruption together. Oh, and we give our money. Send them over to you. Children they suffer every day. Better school in no day. Nigeria women come. Oh, we learn from every sector. Make we fight corruption. We won't kill our country. Them go collect money for light. Chop the money light we no see. Good road and good health and call. We no see. I said na kankawomo, na kankawomo.
Join the EFCC in its crusade to rid Nigeria of corruption. Naija, now we all know.
And this is where we draw the curtain on this week's edition of the program. Thank you for being part of the program. Please don't forget to join us next week, same time and on same station, as we bring you another interesting package Follow us on Twitter at Official EFCC. And please like our page on Facebook.com/Official EFCC. And to watch our programs and other activities, please log on to YouTube.com/Official EFCC. I remain yours sincerely, Aisha Gambari, saying bye-bye and God bless Nigeria.
You don't do. I don't tire for all the things where you do.
You the yarn of butter. Sure you think say na only you feed buga. I go show you.
This matter don't pass, be careful. You dey show yourself all these years. I just dey look you. This time you go know the kind of person we are.
I've been the watch as you dey try scatter my future.
The future where I dey try organize for myself. Small. Now him you dey try kill abi?
Not to kill, scatter, and destroy my pearls always do your agenda, abi? Oh, but you know, Fito, not this time.
I don't set my own agenda.
I know how well your agenda go fit past my agenda.
Because my agenda strong past your agenda.
For this election, the agenda now.
It's our future.
No violence.
Just vote.
Set the agenda for this election. No violence. Just vote.
Yes. And my dirty they smell like this. Now to throw away am quick. This kind smell fit make man sick. That woman to throw dirty for ground. Myself go do the same this time around.
Hold up. See, to do this kind badness by the book, you make sure say person know the look. And then you drop them nicely, bros. Nothing will happen. Trust me.
See, if you throw away dirty for ground, another person self throw away dirty. Jab.
Imagine a station where you access information. Think of a station that creates awareness for national development. Imagine a station that prepares you for a bright and greater future. A station for all ages. Documentaries, classroom and television, events coverage, children's programs and variety shows. Always stay tuned to NTA Knowledge on the StarTimes platform, channel 359. For partnership, sponsorship and advert placements, contact us on NTA Knowledge. NTA Knowledge, learning to broaden horizon.
Slavery is an evil practice abolished all over the world over 200 years ago. Of jobs abroad.
People went to say Libya, Italy no use you when they carry me on top water. 4 days now they lock me for inside house, no food, no water. I nearly die. Now God, when me heaven and earth, now save me. If you get 1 naira for Nigeria, you get junior 1, you say you no get papa, you no get mama, that make you come out. I beg go they do farm work. You better pass person when enter road.
Don't accept to travel to Europe through the Sahara Desert. You may be walking into slavery. Don't be a slave.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
There are discussions before court on corruption, security.
High
yadda za a samu cikakken ci
wàásù ẹ̀yìn ọ̀wọ̀ ní kólà àkókò mú ní ó yẹ kí àwọn ènìyàn súnmọ́ ọlọ́run kí á sì máa.
NTA brings you the best of entertainment.
I thought I was being sarcastic.
I went on to do other productions.
Everything music.
Hear what which one you say. If you look at the platforms of particular products.
They call a new school playing. That's in the hot or we go carry.
Good evening and welcome to Nationwide. I am Kene Emma Abodike. Activities marking this year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration were rounded off nationwide with the laying of wreath at the cenotaph of the unknown soldier. President Muhammadu Buhari presided over the colorful ceremony at the National Arcade in Abuja. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the event has as its theme appreciating the contributions of the armed forces in ensuring peace and security.
The Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration is an annual event organized by the federal government to honor the nation's servicemen and women who paid the supreme price during the world and civil wars, various peace support, as well as internal security operations, especially the current fight against terrorism and insurgency. It is also meant to pay tribute to the veterans who are still alive, as well as chart a supportive cause for their well-being and that of the families of the fallen heroes. The climax of the ceremony was a laying of wreath in honor of the unknown soldier by President Muhammadu Buhari, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, presiding officers of the National Assembly and the Chief Justice of Nigeria, as well as the Ministers of Defense and the FCT. Others include the Chief of Defense Staff, Service Chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, Doyen of the Diplomatic Corps, Chairman of the Nigeria Legion, as well as the widow of John Alechenu, brave and courageous soldier who died on the front line while fighting the Boko Haram insurgents. Special prayers were then offered for not only the fallen heroes, but also the Nigerian nation and its leaders.
Father, we pray that you will continue to give them and grant them eternal rest.
Oh Allah, bless their families and rectify their conditions and unite them with excellent companions.
We pray for our political leaders at all levels of governance. Give them your wisdom and a clear vision as they guide us to greater achievements in Nigeria.
A symbolic release of pigeons signifying freedom, unity, peace and hope for a better future for Nigeria by President Muhammadu Buhari rounded off the celebration. And shortly after overseeing the Remembrance Day activities at the National Arcade, the outgoing commander of the Presidential Guards Brigade, Major General Musa Yusuf, introduced his successor, Brigadier General Umar Musa Tama, to the President. From the State House, Adamu Sambo
again has details.
The meeting is in furtherance of President Buhari's strategic engagements with critical stakeholders aimed at finding lasting solutions to the volatile security situation. Lasting about 1 hour, the meeting provided the opportunity for an in-depth review of the steps taken so far by the federal government towards addressing the recurrent farmers-herdsmen conflicts, amongst other challenges of security in parts of the country.
And he's spoken to us about the situation in Benue and what exactly the government is doing in order to bring it under control. But, you know, as leaders, it's not our responsibility to share what the president has briefed us with the media. We have a constituency.
For now, we are resuming on Tuesday. We have the responsibility to brief our colleagues on what we have been briefed, and then from there on, communicate to the public respectively. What we're all interested, of course, is the unity of the country, peace and stability.
The presiding officers of the National Assembly used the opportunity to commiserate with victims of the conflicts.
We use this opportunity again, send our condolences to the people of Benue State, to the government and entire community for this unfortunate incident. Allah grant them eternal peace and continue to ensure that we live in peace and harmony.
As leaders, we will not politicize this. It's not time for passing blame to anyone. We will do everything humanly possible to ensure that we bring not just succor to the people who are affected, but to ensure that we do not experience a relapse into this or a recurrence of this cycle of violence.
Talk to us about the significance of this meeting between the President and the presiding officers of the National Assembly.
It is Mr. President's continued engagement with the legislature on any matter of national significance, because as the President, the legislature is the lawmaking body and he has to brief them on what he's done, and that is what he's just doing, to guide the legislature in taking its decisions.
President Buhari's strategic engagements on national security and stability continues. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
As part of ongoing reviews of the country's security apparatus, the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Security Infrastructure has engaged Benue State Governor Samuel Otom in discussion on the way forward. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adeguloye reports that interaction is sequel to the killings by suspected gunmen in the state.
This meeting between the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Security Infrastructure and Benue State Governor Samuel Otom seeks ways of finding a lasting solution to the farmers and herdsmen clashes in Benue State. Senate leader Ahmed Lawan and the leader of the delegation assured that Senate will partner with all agencies mandated to provide security to find a lasting solution to the crisis. Governor Otom stressed that after due consultations, passage of the anti-open grazing law and introduction of ranches is the way forward.
We have looked at this. It's not that we did not do our homework well before coming out with this law. We did. Series of meetings were held at the state, at the local government, at the world level. And so our law is a win-win law.
He also thanked President Muhammadu Buhari for his swift intervention in the crisis. The committee also engaged the Tortiv, traditional rulers, and the Benue State Commissioner of Police.
So what Nigerians should expect at the end of our assignment and approval of the Senate on our recommendations would be that our security institutions will be better, that citizens, Nigerians, should expect to be protected and secured more efficiently and effectively by the security institutions. The traditional rulers across the country should have serious and positive roles to play in our security arrangements.
The senators visited the Daudu IDP camp with goodwill messages from the president and a 1 million naira donation from the Senate. In Makurdi, Dennis Adeguloye, NTA News.
Proper regulation of the livestock sector and sensitization of Nigerians to peace have been identified as remedies to ending herdsmen-farmers clashes and the cycle of violence in the country. While on Good Morning Nigeria, guests also called for more intelligence gathering among security agencies. Kunle Adeyeye reports.
Recent killings in Rivers and Benue states are some of the pockets of violence lately witnessed in the country. The guests described the incessant clashes between herdsmen and farmers as unhealthy for a country that intends to diversify its economy, with agriculture playing a major role. They identified increased demand for land as a major factor that has heightened these clashes and implored the states and local governments to help complement federal government policies designed to resolve the crisis.
The critical issues are known, and they centered around, first, the issue of the feed resources for the animals, the issue of water, and the issue of course, the health of the animals.
The only way we can situate this is to become much more sincere in the efforts we take to be able to address this issue.
The earlier we begin to look at the concept of rangers, there is no way you can allow people to wallow about in the bush without anything. You talk about curfew. Curfew is not observed in the bush. You talk about roadblock. These attacks are incubated in the bush and brought to be implemented in villages.
The Commissioner of Police, Nasarawa State, Bello Ahmed, said political mechanism should also be deployed to address these challenges.
We partner with communities. That is why we encourage communities to come forward and give us credible, timely information. And as far as I know, there is no information given that does not, that we don't extray it and utilize it.
The guests equally want governments to focus attention on mitigating the effects of climate change, which has compelled the herdsmen to move down south. In Abuja, Kunle Adeyeye, NTA News.
Following the peace meeting by the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, with Fulani and Tiv communities in Lafia, Nasarawa State, the IGP and Governor Tanko Al-Makura have followed up with the tour of the border communities to assess the security situation and drive home the message of harmonious coexistence. Joshua Ojito reports.
The visit of Inspector General of Police Ibrahim Idris to Tunga, Logo and Guma is in continuation of his engagement with stakeholders to end farmers-herdsmen clashes as directed by President Buhari. While in the affected communities, the IGP also interacted with traditional rulers and again with representatives of Tiv and Fulani. He also visited the internally displaced persons and assured them of adequate security.
We are going to make some adjustments of deployment, right?
Yes, sir.
We are taking some more mobile policemen to some of these areas.
Yes, sir.
And this we are able to achieve because of our personal assessment of these locations.
Meanwhile, Governor Umaru Tanko Al-Makura also visited the IDP camps where majority fled Benue attacks to border communities of Awe, Kiana and Obiluku government areas of Nasarawa State. According to the State Emergency Management Agency, there are more than 18,000 displaced persons taking refuge in Nasarawa State.
We need to fast-track the support we give to them. What I consider most fundamental is to ensure the increase of security, to also ask security operatives to go along the border towns where these people have deserted to ensure that there are no vandalization of their houses or food items.
The government, Governor Al-Makura assured, will sustain the provision of relief materials and medical services. In Lafia, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria has distanced itself and its over 1 million members from the killing in farming communities in the country. The group says its members are the worst victims of the attacks as they lost over 1,000 members in less than 7 months. Musa Baba Aliyu has details.
These are leaders of Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, representing over 2 million of their members. Their concern here is the frequent crisis between their members and the farming communities in Benue, Taraba, Adamawa and Kaduna states. The association is also worried over killings of innocent citizens, including their members, by unknown gunmen in the name of Fulani herdsmen.
While we have suffered decades of neglect by the government with attendant consequences, the current national gang up against the herdsmen is not only endangering our survival as a people, but also justifying action against us, no matter how crude and inhuman it is.
Baba Usman, who is the National Secretary of the Miyetti Allah, said their members are ready to support the federal government and the security agencies towards finding lasting solutions to the farmers-herders clashes.
We demand for the immediate disarmament of all illegal militias across the country in the interest of peace,
security and stability.
While calling on the federal government to establish Ministry of Livestock Development, the association appealed to the government to pay compensation to all the victims of the crisis. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Following the federal government resolve to address the custodial conditions of prisons inmates in Nigeria, the Nigerian Prison Service has been repositioned towards addressing the challenges confronting the service. The Comptroller General of the service, Jafaru Ahmad, disclosed this during the yearly tour and briefing on facilities to the media. Marujanatu Adam Said reports.
A village in Gwagwalada Area Council and believed to be one of the populated area council in the FCT. Dukwa is home to one of the 13 model prison farm centers in the country. The aim of establishing the prison institution in all parts of the world, including Nigeria, is to rehabilitate and serve as correctional facility for those who have violated the rules and regulations of their land.
We have an administration that is listening to us, that has listened to us, that is giving us what we need, and the only way we can repay this administration and Nigerians at large is to ensure that we do our work the best as we can.
The Dukwa Farm Center was established in 2006 and has trained many prison inmates on entrepreneurship in various fields. Ibrahim Abdullahi, an inmate at the Dukwa Farm Center, narrates his experience.
I really want government, if they can help me, if I live here, if there's a way that they will give me a place to set up a kind of place like this for me.
We rotate them. Like if they work for some few weeks in the poultry, we take them to piggery, like that, to fishery.
The farm generates over 3 million naira annually to government coffers. In Abuja, Murijana True, Adam Said, NTA News.
Lagos, the Center of Excellence, is our first stop on Nationwide. Ademola is our guide.
Thank you. And a warm welcome to Lagos. As the nation marks this year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day, Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode has urged Nigerians to be united and embrace peace as a mechanism for conflict resolution. Tola Adebule completes the story. Bulletin. Meanwhile, a Thanksgiving service has held at the Chapel of Christ the Light, Alausa, Ikeja, for the celebration. Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode asked Nigerians to respect, honor, and show gratitude to members of Nigerian Armed Forces for their selfless sacrifice to the nation. Nosa Osula reports.
Governor Ambode, who was represented by the Commissioner for Special Duties and Intergovernmental Relations, Olusheye Oladejo, commended the contributions of the armed forces to the development of the state.
While some have suffered partial and permanent disability, several others, especially civilians, have been displaced from their homes and deprived of the means of their livelihood. In the face of this challenge, we must not relent, but continue to show resilience. We must continue to pray for divine intervention as we work hard to promote peace.
In his sermon, Special Advisor to the Governor on Religious Matters, Reverend Kolawole Verals, said the Armed Forces Remembrance Celebration offers opportunity to value the contributions of the armed forces and the heroes past towards peace and security of the nation.
Everywhere we occupy as individuals is a place of opportunity to serve this nation. This we must reckon with as individuals.
All from civilian homes. So reckon with us as your brothers and encourage us. As you encourage us, we will do the best we can.
The Armed Forces and Remembrance Day celebration is an annual event organized to honor members of the Nigerian Armed Forces who fought in the First and Second World Wars, those who served or are still serving in various support operations worldwide, and those involved in counter-terrorism operations, as well as those who fought in the Nigerian Civil War. In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
Motorists and commuters plying Lagos-Ibadan Expressway witnessed a gridlock for several hours A truck was said to have rammed into 9 other vehicles as a result of overspeeding. Rotimi Abolade Salami, however, reports that no life was lost.
The accidents involving cars, buses and Federal Road Safety Corps patrol vehicle were said to have been run over by a truck belonging to Dangote Group of Companies. When NTA News arrived at the scene of the accident, the injured victims with several degrees of injuries were said to have been taken to the hospital for treatment. Eyewitnesses gave different accounts of the cause of the accident.
The problem is that I pursued one vehicle, one intercept vehicle. Then the vehicle failed to stop for them. Then as they were struggling to stop the vehicle, a trailer they failed brake, and that's how the accident started.
A truck, red truck over there, was coming out from under the bridge. We want to enter the express. Then the road safety vehicle now stopped to calm traffic down so that the truck that is coming out of the bridge can enter the express properly.
The sector commander of Federal Safety Corps, Lagos State, spoke on the accident.
A Dangote truck coming from the Bagan axis, whether he lost control, I don't know what happened, but it just ran over everybody on that queue. And it was a case of a multiple crash. Will hit this one will hit this one, this one will hit this one. It was as they are hitting themselves like that and going. That was how the vehicle in front now hit our own patrol vehicle also. And 2 of our personnel also sustained injury.
Meanwhile, the law enforcement agencies and other security apparatus were seen on ground to ensure free flow of traffic along the Lagos-Ibadan corridor.
In his quest to ensure safer environment for Nigerians, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps says it will continuously collaborate with other security agencies in the fight against crime and criminality in the society. The Lagos commandant of the Corps, Tajuddin Balogun, said this when the Corps paraded a 26-year-old robbery suspect. The report.
The suspect, Olasukomi, and his gang was caught stealing a communication inverter at about 2 o'clock in the morning by men of Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps patrol team. Items seized include a commercial bus, 12 inverter batteries, a locally made double-mouthed pistol, and some vehicle tools. The commandant, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Tajuddin Balogun, says the suspect will be charged to court after proper investigation.
Evidence is on ground, justice will be done, because we believe in justice, to reduce crime and criminality to the barest minimum level, to make Nigerians safer, because all hands must to be on deck to make this country great, to support the federal government, to support the state government in no ramification. And that's what we are known for, and that's what we continue to do.
The suspect, Olasukomi, confessed to newsmen that he was lured into the criminal act by his friend Shegun, who works as security man in that area.
I never worked to them. Okay. People will let me say, go, say me I go show them road, make I go show them there. I don't even know, now Shegun come say, I don't go, now I come go, that should say, make I go, if they don't come, make I go show them street.
The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps says it has contributed immensely to crime fighting, promising to intensify efforts in order to ensure a crime-free state.
Plans are on the way for a new clinical trial for cancer cure in Nigeria. A team of medical experts from the University of Chicago, in collaboration with their counterpart at Lagos University Teaching Hospital, are expected to commence the trial this month. This was the focus at a forum in Lagos. Kende Olaleye reports.
Cancer has become a major epidemic recognized by the World Health Organization as a major threat to the human existence. Experts in the field of medicine have come up with research development for the treatment of the disease.
We are going to begin a new clinical trial to bring one of the most powerful drugs that can actually cure women with advanced cancer. And we're going to start that clinical trial in Nigeria this month to make sure that anyone that is diagnosed with cancer, especially breast cancer, will have the opportunity to get cured.
With the global concern and research development in cancer-related medicine Experts say Nigeria must not be left out in the provision of modern facilities and efficient infrastructure for the clinical care.
To ensure that the infrastructure to provide excellent clinical care goes side by side with the expertise in doing clinical research that will benefit all of us.
This is needed if we must progress and join the Community of Nations, where good and excellent services are rendered in medical institutions.
The new clinical trial, which is supported by the World Health Organization for Africa and other developing countries, is part of the effort to mitigate against the spread of cancer and providing a more reliable and efficient treatment of the disease in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. In Lagos, doing Dia NTA News.
And that does it from Lagos. It's back to you, Kenneth, for more on Nationwide. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Ademola. The House of Representatives is set to resume plenary on Tuesday after 19 days of Christmas and New Year holidays. Members say the passage of the 2018 Appropriation Bill and legislative intervention in the area of security will be topmost on its agenda. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
The National Assembly concluded its 2017 plenary session with the passage of the 2018-2020 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy paper. That was a major takeoff in the preparation for the consideration of the 2018 budget. As the legislators prepare to reconvene for plenary, the House of Representatives said the 2018 budget scrutiny will engage members.
Nigerians, the President and Nigerians expect expeditious work on the budget, and that's exactly what we are going to do.
A lot of time will be devoted to the quick passage of the budget by the time the House resumes plenary.
As we start tomorrow, the committees are going to swim into action, and so we will do justice to it, converse, discuss, engage the various MDAs.
Security lapses, which resulted in killings in some states and disparity in the pump price of petrol across the country, were listed by members as some of the issues that will receive immediate attention.
From my experience in the industry, and I have 40 years experience in the industry, I have known as a fact that the problem of fuel scarcity is supply. The House will have to examine the security architecture of the country with a view to nipping in the bud these incessant incidents of killings across the nooks and crannies of this country.
Staff of the National Assembly, the media and security personnel appear ready for commencement of plenary. Usually, when the House of Representatives resumes from break, it takes off with plenary session, but this time, while committee works resumed last week Tuesday, plenary will resume tomorrow. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
You are watching Nationwide on NTA. The news returns after these messages.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
On NTA Tuesday Live this week, security challenges and concerted efforts to cap them, plus issues of irregular migration and Libya returns. What are the matters arising? NTA Tuesday Live promises to be incisive and informative. Join us.
Does it mean you are in paid employment if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend?
A boyfriend that cannot put his girlfriend on a weekly or monthly allowance. Is that one a boyfriend?
Is a relationship a job and you must get paid?
I've been needing like 20 to 25k.
I transferred 15,000 naira for you some days ago.
Your rib-cracking comedy, Professor John Wood, takes a detailed look at this trend in this episode titled Meal Tickets.
In our days, we enjoyed courtly love, not cupboard love.
Exactly.
Now you keep quiet, young man.
An episode that comically explodes the myths and misconceptions surrounding relationships and defines the employers as well as the employees in this unusual job situation.
Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow,
the largest data network. Glow Unlimited.
Experience, they say, is the best teacher.
They hold us from the sea. Thank God that we came back home. They should not go there because it's not good. It's a very bad place. So they just may have us.
Even now, so if they are shooting the boat they are going to use to go Italy, let them stop it. Our country is good. Our country is a blessed country. Now I know our country is a blessed country. I know before I for not travel from Nigeria to Libya. I know how much I spent.
Let these personal experiences serve as a lesson to all who would repeat their mistakes. A word is enough for the wise.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Nigeria, richly blessed with mineral resources, immense potential for massive employment, revenue generation, import substitution, and lots more.
Have you shared that plan with our environmental officer?
The Buhari administration determined to diversify the economy by finally harnessing the potentials in the mining sector.
We must increase the level of beneficiation and processing locally.
Watch Translating the Potential, showing Thursdays from 10 to 10:30 a.m. on the network service of the NTA.
Thank you for staying with us on Nationwide. INEC warns against early electioneering campaign. Asmawu has the details and other stories in Sokoto Network Center.
Thank you, Kene. Good afternoon and welcome to Sokoto. Today marked exactly 52 years after the assassination of the late Premier of the Northern Region, Sir Ahmadu Bello, along with other Nigerian leaders in the first military coup staged in 1966. In this report, Abdurrahman Jibrila examines the life and times of the late Premier, as well as his contributions to the socio-economic development of the North and Nigeria as a whole.
Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto, was born in the ancient town of Raba in 1909 to the family of Malam Ibrahim Bello. Ahmadu Bello trained as a teacher and administrator, served as the Premier of Northern Nigeria from 1954 to 1966. Sardauna, the President General of the defunct dominant political party in Nigeria, the Northern People's Congress, NPC. The contribution of Sardauna of Sokoto to the national development in the areas of education, agriculture, health was excellent. Establishment of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria and the New Nigerian newspapers, textile industries were among other numerous projects executed by Sardauna of Sokoto in order to uplift the living standard of Nigerians, especially in northern Nigeria. Nigeria's history is incomplete without the mention of the first military coup in which Sardauna of Sokoto and many others were brutally killed. Although Sardauna is gone 52 years ago, but Nigerians still celebrate and appreciate his good legacies.
But we are one entity. Like Northern Nigeria is one entity. It's either you are a Muslim or you are a Christian. It's either you are Hausa or Fulani or Birom or Tiv. We are all one. But I tell you, these are politicians that comes to divide us for their selfish reasons.
You treat each and every person equal.
just the way Sir Ahmadu Bello did.
And has put up a very good system of accountability in governance and also effectiveness in delivery of service.
Sir Ahmadu Bello remains an epitome of national unity, sincerity, honesty, hard work, and indeed role model to present crop of leaders in Nigeria. In Sokoto, Abraham Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
In Zamfara State, concerns and fear are growing, especially amongst the Fulani herdsmen, over the resurgence of cattle rustling and armed banditry in Sokoto and Zamfara states. Jamil Ibrahim reports that the recent attack on some communities across the state suggests the collapse of the peace treaty entered between the state government and the suspected bandits last year.
Zamfara State has over the past 7 years suffered badly from incessant cases of cattle rustling and armed banditry, which resulted in monumental loss of lives and properties. A peace deal struck between the state government and leaders of the suspected bandits, who ostensibly repented and surrendered their weapons in 2017, seemed to have yielded a fruitful result, as the deadly attacks ceased in all parts of the state for a couple of months. The recent resurgence of the attacks on some communities across the state, however, raises concern and seems to have signified the collapse of the peace deal.
The security situation in Zamfara is terrible. The situation is worsening.